You're listening to episode 307 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's Small and Supercharged podcast. It's with me. It's one that I've been thinking about a little bit after I spoke to someone, just a random one-off conversation a few weeks ago. They're not someone I work with, but some of the things they were saying, I just thought, interesting. There's definitely a podcast in this. And it is basically people who manage to find a problem for every solution. And why that's a really rubbish way to be. I think we can all do this from time to time. I think when we're absolutely up past our eyeballs and stuff, it's very difficult to feel like there kind of isn't ways to do things better, that everything has to take this long, that this process has to be followed. Maybe we've always done it that way. Maybe we've been told we always have to do it that way. Maybe we've really got into our own head about our own limitations and what's hard and what's difficult and what we are and aren't capable of. And we've kind of been talking to ourselves and telling ourselves this story for so long that we believe it to be true. And, you know, we can do that. All of us can do that. Our mind, when it's on side, is definitely our greatest ally. And it can help us with all sorts of difficult things, all sorts of things that are incredibly hard to overcome. It can really, really be such an ally. I know that through the coaching that I do. I know that through my own experience. I know that through the work that I've done as an NLP master practitioner. It is what it is. It is that important. It can completely transform things. There's a brilliant quote that says, you know, people that are happy don't have the best of everything, but they make the best of everything. And it's so important. And as I was speaking to this person a while ago now, I just thought, gosh, this is tricky. And actually, the things that she was talking about, things that weren't working in her business, weren't that difficult to overcome at all, actually. But the mindset she was in, the way that every solution had a problem and had an explanation as to why it wasn't possible, why it wouldn't work, tried and trusted things that I knew would work. How she was almost waiting to be rescued, but equally how when that rescue came, she wouldn't be prepared to accept it. It was a really interesting discussion, and I kind of I finished that discussion, I kind of thought, there's a lot there to unpack. And I thought, you know what, this is a good thing to talk about, because we can all do this from time to time. We can all look for problems for every solution. And I thought, from this conversation I had, I've been giving it some real thought, and I wanted to share some of the thoughts with you, really. So I hope you're going to enjoy it. I hope you're going to find something interesting in it. And this isn't criticism of the person I spoke to. It was just one of those conversations that, your brain just sort of starts to think about it and think, hang on a minute. This isn't what it seems. There's much more to it than that. And I know I've been in that situation with particular things where you're just so in on it, you can't sort of look out, and it's really kind of isolating, and it's very difficult you can't operate well from that place. You can't operate productively or efficiently. I feel now, after years and years, I'm getting better at identifying that, and can see when I'm in that or heading in that direction and think, no, come on, you can do this. How would you do it? One of the things I sometimes say is, how would you advise someone else to do it? That can be quite useful. And that kind of feeds in, I guess, to the first point I want to talk about, which is about reframing these situations. Now, I love a good reframe. I've talked about it before in the podcast. And it's where, instead of looking at a situation as it is, you think, well, what else could this mean? How else could I do it? And you take yourself away from the situation, almost sort of disassociate yourself slightly. So it's not you that's got the thing, it's someone else. So I kind of look at something and go, okay, how would I advise somebody else to go about that? What questions would I ask to get the best out of that person? So, if you're feeling hugely overwhelmed, okay, well, that's positive in one way, because it means you've got lots to do, which is brilliant. But what could you do with all these jobs to make it work better for you? How could you categorize them? What could you do with them to make it work better? If you're struggling with a specific situation, let's say you're finding, I don't know, the financial side of business really, really taxing, or that was an unintended pun there, wasn't it? Tax. Yeah. Oh, I'm on fire today. You're finding it really difficult. You're finding it really challenging. Okay. But what else could we learn from that? Well, is it a good problem to have? And whilst it's a problem, then you need to go, okay, well, what are the possible solutions for that problem? Is it extra training? Is it speaking with an accountant? Is it working with an accountant? Is it finding a financial advisor? What can you do differently? So part of this is the reframe, and part of it, I think, is being solution focused and saying, okay, this is the problem. This is a rubbish problem. How am I going to fix it? What are the possible options out there? And rather than going down I could do this, but stop the buts. The buts aren't going to help you here, because again, if we're trying to find a solution to a problem, going too quickly to the but isn't really helpful. Actually trying to think positively, trying to think of a solution, of being that solution focused. How are we going to fix this situation is the way, in my opinion, you're going to come up with more and more things. So for example, let's say you are in you're stressed about finances, you don't really understand things, completely understand. So what are your options here? Well, one of them is to speak to an accountant. But you don't have an accountant. Okay, so find an accountant, but I don't know where to start. Okay, so could you ask people? Are you members of any groups you could ask? Could you speak to other business friends? Could you do some research online? What could you do to get that problem solved? I think sometimes people kind of go, oh, I can't do that, but I can't do that because of this. And then they move on. Like, don't let the but stop you. And it could be, okay, I can't afford an accountant. Right, okay. So one way to look at this is an accountant costs you however much an accountant costs you, depending on lots of different factors. How long would it take you to do it you do it yourself? That would be however long that would take you. What could you earn in that amount of time? That would be another thing. What would you need to learn? How much learning would you need to do this? That's another thing. So we need to look for solutions, not just say, oh, this would help, but, and then leave the buts. The buts are more into the detail of, I could do this. Okay, that's one option. Another option could be to do a course that would help you to understand it more. Don't think of the but I haven't got time, but this, but that. That could be the solution. As you work through these things, it could be to spend some time with a business friend who's actually really, really good at accounts. It could be to, I don't know, look into mentoring through some different programs and schemes. There's lots of different options for the problems that most people face. It's just they either talk themselves out of them or they're just not thinking about it in a broader term. Now, one of the things that I've heard quite a lot, this conversation particularly, was that for every solution, there was lots of different reasons why, but one of them was, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to do it. Well, in that case, I'm afraid you have to make the time. If the problem is that important to you, you need to make the time to deal with it. Now, making that time could be that you decide to delegate it, or it could be that you think, you know what, this is so important. I need to clear some space in my diary. I need to allocate some hours to do it, plan the steps you're going to take and crack the hell on. But saying you don't have the time, I'm afraid, is not a good enough excuse. What you've done there is you have not prioritised your time on that thing. And if it's not a priority, that's absolutely fine. But therefore, it's not a problem, is it? If it is a problem, a burning problem that is keeping you awake at night, you have to prioritise it. You have to then knock something else down the to-do list or put something else onto someone else's plate and prioritise it. Saying you don't have the time is actually incredibly limiting for how we talk to ourselves. It makes you feel like you're in this perpetual rush and chaos. And that's a horrible, horrible feeling. If you decide you don't want to make the time, absolutely fine. If you think you would rather use your time doing something else and you can delegate it out, brilliant. But we need to kind of take control. Like, we're in control of how we spend our time. And it might mean that you take a cold, hard look at how you spend your time in the day and you have to reprioritize certain things. But if it is important, if the problem is that important, make the time, find the solution, or delegate. And that's another point of this, that, you know, as a business owner, you are not necessarily going to be great at everything in the business. You're not going to be amazing at the marketing, the sales, the creative, the logistics, the finances, the HR, all the stuff. Everyone that I know has got something they're particularly brilliant at, a few things they're particularly brilliant at, and some of the things that they either aren't good at or they hate. And that's fine. I think it's really important to have a vague understanding of all the aspects of your business and how they work, but then find people that do it better than you and trust them with it. If you don't trust them, they're not the right person. But look at how you can delegate. So if there's somebody who is incredible at the ops side of your business and actually you flipping hate it, but you're amazing at the creative side, wouldn't it make more sense to really focus on the creative side and grow that side of your business to be amazing, whilst they focus on the stuff that they're really, really good at and they can make that side amazing? Even if you get freelancers in or external people to help you to get there, to help you see different things, to put systems in place, doesn't that make more sense? Another thing you can look at is how to streamline your processes. So sometimes when we start out, we have to do things really manually, I guess. You know, everything takes a long time to do because we're learning and we might have clunky systems, clunky programs. So one example could be your invoicing. So if you're a small business, you might start out doing invoicing like just on a word processing program, and you might be laying it out. It might be an absolute faff, but you do it because that's what you do. You can't necessarily afford to have software that helps you with that. Or maybe when you started your business, that kind of software didn't exist. Now stuff comes on at an alarming rate, and there is now some really good software available that can help you with your accounting, with your invoicing, and can really make that much, much quicker. So it would make sense to maybe spend an hour researching that, because the time it's going to save you day on day, month on month is going to far outweigh that. I think as well we forget how much things develop in a very short space of time. So one of the things I do, which I want to do more of, is courses, online courses. Now, not that long ago, I remember it being really difficult. And when I was deciding how to do it, the platforms were an absolute swine. They were expensive. They were few and far between. It was really clunky. It was hard work. I went for an option on something that actually connected to my website, which I don't love, for something that I was doing. It was so difficult to do. Now, there are loads of incredible platforms that are designed for course creators that make everything easy. The entire process is automated. They take the money, they pay you, they allow access to the system however you want to do it, whether you do like a drip or whether you do all in one. There are some incredible options out there which can streamline your processes. So it's worth, if you can, just spending some time and looking and going, well, where do I spend my time? And what are my pain points? And how could I improve this? This might be speaking to somebody who is really good in that area, or is a mentor, or is a business friend, and say, how do you do these things? What systems do you use? What software do you use? Look how you can streamline things, because if it saves you time there, it gives you more time to do the things you want to do to push the business forward rather than the mundane stuff. Look at how you can streamline your processes. Even if you did this a year ago, don't have that mindset of, well, I looked a year ago. It hasn't changed. Stuff changes every day. Look into it. Don't have this mindset. If something is really, you're struggling with something in your business, it's taking you a lot of time, it's clunky, it's awkward, look at ways you can streamline, and also analyze the aspects of it that are clunky. Are they must-haves? Are they nice-to-haves? Who does it benefit? Could you do something and then develop something else to work that problem out without compromising your business in the here and now? Another thing is to look at time management methods. Obviously, I touched on this earlier about when people say they don't have the time. Make the time. Look at how you're spending your time. You need to be brutally honest with yourself. You need to look at if you're wasting time. We all waste time. It's not a criticism, but we have to look at where our priorities are. We have to look at how we use our time, and it's important to be honest. Otherwise, this isn't going to work for you. I would also experiment with different kind of time management methods. So some people use, it's called the Pomodoro. I'm pretty sure it's called the Pomodoro method. It's kind of when you layer intense work and rest periods. So it's like, I can't remember the exact timings, but something like 45 minutes work, 15 minutes rest. Go and have a look at it. Not my invention, but it can be a really good way of getting things done because you're putting little deadlines in place, and that can help to really inspire action and inspire work. Some people have the mini day concept where you have half a day on one thing, half a day on another. Some people have timers. Play around with it to make sure that you are getting through your jobs. Think about the tasks you're doing, which ones have got more value and more weight, which ones have got less value and less weight, and how you want to kind of fit those into your program. You know, do you need to do emails first thing, or is it better to do them midday when you're, I don't know, when you've had your kind of first burst of energy? Are you more of a night owl or an early bird? Where do your best work? Analyze all those things and make it work better. Another thing that came up that I was pondering is you don't have to do it all on your own. So even if you're self-employed and you work on your own for yourself by yourself, that doesn't mean that you have to operate in this bubble. I'm going to give a shout out to the mastermind group because I love it. Loads of incredible small business owners in that group. We do lots of learning. We do marketing masterclasses, mindset masterclasses, all the things. But also there is the most amazing community there. So when someone pops up and says, I have a problem with X, or how did you get round Y? Rather than you going at it blind and spending huge amounts of time trying to research it, just trying to get a start on it, by finding groups of like-minded people, you're more likely to at least get some leads on a situation. So I don't know, you're struggling to send a product to a random foreign country that you've never sent it to before. Well, there are lots of different providers that will get your parcel there, but you want to check pricing, all different things. So if you can go into a group of like-minded people, Facebook's a brilliant place to find these like-minded people and say, I'm trying to get a package to X. It weighs about this much. Has anyone else sent something like this? How did you do it? What was best? Hopefully what will happen in a good engaged community is people say, yeah, I used this company, I used this company. And then you start to get an idea of where to do your research really, where to kind of find those bits of research, and you know you've got a little bit of word of mouth recommendation. It just gives you a place to start. Now, that doesn't mean they are the right places for you, but it gives you a thing to start. And every little bit of research you do, you're going to learn more about it as you go. That can shortcut the process. It can help you feel a lot less alone, but you have to have that solution-focused mindset to not be looking for problems, to be looking for solutions in any aspect that you're struggling with. The other way of looking at this would be, well, I don't know how to do it. I'm going to have to start from scratch. I'm going to have to turn business away. I'm going to have a hissy fit about it. I'm just going to look at the internet for ages and try and work it out. I'm going to speak to 10 different companies and then get so overwhelmed I'm not going to do anything. You've got to be really honest with yourself about it and about putting those processes in place that tick the boxes in your head but allow you to push forward. And another thing is, if you've got into this habit, this is my last point really, for now. I mean, I've got lots of points on this, but for now, because I thought this was a really important one. If you've got yourself into this finding a problem for every solution mindset, there is a point when you have to go, oh, Christ, I've been doing this. I need to stop. That's fine. Don't be a martyr to the situation. Some people get so into the situation that they can't possibly move away from it, whether they see it as a personal failure, whether they've kind of hammered their beliefs so hard to this thing that they can't let it go. There are no awards whatsoever for being a martyr. Quite the opposite. It is detrimental to everything. Don't do it. If you have identified some of the things I've talked about in yourself, you are not alone. You are absolutely not unusual in that. But the key is you've identified it, now fix it. Because if you fix it, if you can work on your mindset, if you can start to reframe, if you can understand the language around, I'm not prioritizing that now, rather than I don't have the time. That's a place of lack. We want to come from a place of abundance. We want to be saying, it's not my priority now, I'm prioritizing that. If we look at streamlining, if we look at time management, if we look at finding like-minded people, all these small steps make a massive difference to whatever you're trying to achieve. trust me on this. Trust me on this. This is very much my bag with the coaching and mentoring. It's down to you to make the difference. There are people out there who are wildly talented and are in this problem-focused mindset. And sadly, they will never achieve anything. They just won't, because they are blocking themselves at every possible opportunity. And there are people who are perhaps less talented, but who see things completely differently, and they are the ones that go on and do incredible things, which therefore I think makes them way more talented, because they are talented with their self-awareness, with their understanding. But it's, it's not, it's so much around, we can control so much about the outcomes of what we do, and being problem focused is not the one. Being solution focused, not looking for problems in every solution, looking at the additional questions to get you closer, to get you to where you want to be, that's the one. I hope that's given you a bit of food for thought. I hope that's made you just think about things a bit differently, really. Or just, having that ability to catch yourself when you start down this route is just so important and so game-changing. If you've enjoyed this podcast, which I kind of hope you have, please do screenshot, share to stories, let me know you've listened. And if you have got a few seconds free and you would like to rate and review the podcast wherever you listen, whether that's Spotify, Apple, wherever, I would be so grateful. It helps more people listen, it helps them to understand more about what the podcast's about, and the more people we get, the better. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope all is good with you, and we will catch up really soon. Take care.